Uganda. A lovely morning to you, and thank you so much for being with us on UBC TV. Welcome to Good Morning Uganda Agenda. I'm Robert Chirabo Newton. But that is in case of just joined, because we're always here from 6:30, and what do we do best is to ensure that you're well versed with what is happening globally, internationally, and very importantly back home here, and a few light moments here with Olive Najuma and the young lad Joram Paul Sonko, plus me, the old folks of the crowd, and what we do best is that. Now, in the agenda, we usually have a guest or two in studios with whom we discuss matters of national importance. This morning, we are still discussing issues regarding poverty alleviation. You know, many times we talk about Ugandans being in poverty, but there are measures that can see them out, and one of them is the cooperative model. It's worked in many countries, it's worked here before, and we are seeing revival. For our brothers and sisters who are born again, when we talk about revival, it means a wave of renewal in the cooperative movement. And they have registered quite a number of success. Now, today we want to focus on nurturing small and medium-sized enterprises for cooperative development. And I have my usual suspect, that is Ivan Asimwe, who is the General Secretary, Uganda Cooperative Alliance.
Thank you so much. Pleasure being here. Good morning, all our viewers.
And something is very amazing today. The guests I have, they have the same tie. I didn't know why they didn't alert me of the dress code today. But is this for cooperators?
No, it's sweet.
And then on the other extreme end, join me, welcome Johnson Abiteganiza, who happens to be the Acting Commissioner, Business Development and Quality Assurance at the Ministry of Trade, Industries and Cooperatives. You're most welcome.
Thanks, Kirabo, and the name is Abiteganiza, and I'm happy for having me here. Good morning, viewers.
I'm also excited having you again. It's been quite a long time since we were last here discussing still issues in that direction. Now, to begin with, Johnson, when we talk about small and medium enterprises, what nature of businesses are we talking about here?
Thanks, Chirabo. The MSMEs in this country, the micro, small and medium enterprises, we look at them in about three categories. One, in terms of the people they employ. If you employ between 1 to 4 people in your business, would count you small, micro. If you employ 5 to 10, you would be small, but 10 to 50, you would be counted medium. Then the other category is about the turnover and the capital employed. And in that category, we look at 0 to 5 to 10 million, then 10 million to 100, 100 to 360. So whoever is above 360 million in terms of turnover or capital employed would have become a large enterprise. And you will realize most of the cooperatives that we are dealing with in this country, their turnover is in those ranges.
Yes.
And that's why today we are saying, what is it that we can look at in terms of development of these micro, small and medium enterprises that would be a link to the growth of the cooperative movement. Maybe to add on that, specifically this morning, the cooperative has two hands. There's one hand the institution and the other hand the business. So I would want to say that for this morning, we are mainly looking at the side of the business. How do we grow that business from the starting to the operations into sustainability? In fact, we are looking at sustainability and growth.
Most of when we are told that most of the business that open do not live to see their first year in Uganda. They along the way fail to make it to their first birthday. Now bring in Ivan here. When we talk about the micro, small and medium in terms of cooperatives, how are we standing? When does a cooperative shift and we say now this is no longer micro? Or better said, how do these small, these micro, small and medium come into forming cooperatives?
Yeah, thank you so much, moderator, and good morning once again, all our viewers, all Ugandans. I'm very happy to be here. Thank you to UBC for always giving us such an opportunity to really come here, share, learn even, because even ourselves we are learning. So it's a very big opportunity. I want to thank Mr. Johnson and the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives for really supporting the small medium enterprises. Because there is no way in this country we know that majority of our businesses are either small or medium. Most of them just go in the rural areas and see what is happening. So Johnson is having a very bigger portfolio. However, cooperatives begin like that. I will give a scenario like how some circles begin, including the circle where I was a general manager for 7 years. It began just like, you know, it was, if I can explain well, this is a group of women who would go out, they work, they come back in the evening. So when they reach at home, their husbands would beat them and they would want to take away the money from them so that they go and drink this money.
Yes.
So eventually, these women were very concerned because they were, this is their money, but their husbands are not allowing them to save this little money. So what do? They now go to a Catholic priest. And then they say, now, Father, you are very trustworthy. We believe in you. Whenever we come from the gardens and we have our money, you keep this money for us. So the father got different envelopes and wrote names there. Ivani, Chirabo, Johnson, and the others. So every day, a woman would bring 1,000, 2,000, like that. So by the money accumulated, it became too much. So the idea came, now this one becomes a VCL, a Village Savings and Loan Association, which is a small business. So eventually, it even outgrows the size of a VSLA. And then eventually, the Catholic priest and some members thought of registering a cooperative. That we have too much money. They were now in like 100 million, like Johnson explained, which now goes beyond a small business. So they said, and it was even very risky to keep this money under the bed within the parish. So eventually, they mobilize, they register a cooperative, and hence it forms a savings and credit cooperative organization. I want to tell you today that circle has a portfolio of 40 billion Uganda shillings. From that scheme, that is how it started. Even that's why that circle has the word scheme. It is savings and credit scheme because it started as a small scheme, started by women, and eventually that is how it grew. So ideally, today's topic is very relevant because most of these cooperatives you see, the circles you see, they started very small. Just go to Chamuhunga, see how it started. You go to Ryamujungu, a few people, just it was called the Chibina, just a small group, a village savings. And then eventually it transforms into a circle. So here we are looking at how best can we nurture, can we grow these businesses to become cooperatives. You go to agricultural cooperatives and see how they start. Women and men just come together, they start collecting one by one. Either it is coffee, it is milk, it is whichever. And then eventually you find, at first it is in a trading center, you find like 5 people with bicycles and milk cans selling milk just by the roadside. Then eventually they ask themselves, for how long is it going to continue? Can't we register a group? They now form a group, a small business, just they start vending milk. Then eventually they register a cooperative, they buy a milk cooler, and now it becomes a very big cooperative society that even eventually forms a union. So all these businesses have started like that. The same in Europe, in America, everywhere. If you are to look at, for example, in Europe, they also started like that. Just talk about in the Netherlands, Friesland, Campina. These were dairy farmers. They just came together in a small way within one village where they said, for how long are we going to lose our milk? For how long are we going to lose our money? Through these middlemen who were buying and selling milk in the towns. So eventually, they come together, they form a small group, they start vending milk. using their small bicycles. Eventually, Friesland Campina now is a multinational operating in over 40 countries. It is a dairy cooperative. They aggregate members' milk, process and export. They even put in the supermarkets across the world. So this is ideally what we are looking at. So as a country, we are very happy that the Ministry of Trade is championing this agenda of ensuring that the small, medium enterprises are not neglected, but rather are nurtured. So that when they are nurtured and they grow, they become strong and viable cooperative societies.
Now this takes me back to Johnson. How is the nurturing you are talking about being done by the ministry? And most of this is your docket, business development. So how are you doing this?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chirabo. We look at a situation that this nurturing is the non-financial services that would grow the enterprise. Now, and that one begins from idea generation. What ideas do you begin to think through? If I can give you an example, one time we picked the ladies who are on the street vendors, vending bananas for other people, because we came to realize for them, they would just go to somebody, pick the bananas and come to vend them. Then we collect them, talked to them about business ideas. Then we gave them options at the point to pick out which ones they can go for. There was bakery and confectionery, tailoring, shoemaking, and hairdressing. In those different categories. After the training at the Management Training and Advisory Center, we came back with them, said, now, what next? Then some of them who accepted, they formed a cooperative of bakery and confectionery group. Now, they started making daddies, those who are going to churches, they would pick orders for cakes. And at the end of the day, they started some businesses. So that's why I'm saying in terms of idea generation. But that the idea generation is not only, we are not only looking at it at the start of the businesses. Even those that started a long time ago. A cooperative like one that is in bananas, at a certain point it may look at only selling bananas. But from the time we started those idea generation with those enterprises on how to make wine, remember at the end of the day you are saying, what does the market want? The market wants quantity and quality, which you will not manage alone. You can manage with the others. So what we do, we go to that level. Say, what ideas can you have to improve on the product, what you have, the enterprise you are having. And also, when you will realize a cooperative, even if it's a savings and credit cooperative, where there are no vibrant enterprises, that cooperative will not survive. That's why you see in this country, one of the reasons why some cooperatives are doing well in some areas and in some areas not doing well, that's one of the other things. We find that the enterprises they are in are not giving money that would enable them pay there. Now, the other thing is that while you begin an enterprise, and later you become into a cooperative, the issue of record keeping is very important from the very start. So we want to nurture people to ensure that they begin to have records from the very start. In fact, one of the records is a business plan. And I've usually told some of the people we have met with that the business plans, people have kept them like men. You know, men at times are like laboratories. What you want to do today and tomorrow, nobody knows. Until whether when it has failed or it has succeeded, that's when they will know that you either went into a wrong thing or in the right thing. So we help people to develop business plans such that everything is recorded. And when you become formal as a cooperative, your business plan, your strategic plan must be on paper, not in the head. You know, when you go to the laboratory in a clinic, they pick samples from you. The only thing you wait for are the results.
Yes.
But here, people must keep monitoring, seeing what are we in. So we need to develop that. On top of business planning, with issues of financial management, issues of markets, issues of negotiation and credit control. You have seen some of our enterprises which have been supplying supermarkets. When a supermarket fails and somebody tells you, I supplied my yogurt for the last 8 months and have not been paid. For heaven's sake, yogurt is a fast moving good. You either have sold it or you return the stock. Why do I spend all that time? But you realize that somebody did not have proper guidance on negotiations. Now, as a ministry, we are trying to help people to have those. The other issue is about quality management. Every cooperative must produce a product that will be able to access the market.
Yes.
And to access the market, it must be of quality. So we prepare these enterprises for certification, and even for those who are not having mandatory certification, they must be able to prepare their products in the right form. So we support them in all of those directions. We have also supported people in terms of market access. We have organized these enterprises to get to trade shows and exhibitions, both locally through the local governments, where we have those commercial officers in these different districts, but even on a regional level. You could have seen that a few weeks ago, some Ugandans were in South Sudan, where the East Africa was congregating to celebrate and showcase the products by the micro, small and medium enterprises.
Yes.
You know, these days we stopped calling them Joakalis, because we are beginning to have a focus of proper working spaces. Yeah, not just sitting under the sun. Some of the things do not need to be under the sun for them to remain with quality. So we are saying, can we nurture these enterprises, who are members of cooperatives, to be able to develop the cooperatives and grow them? And as I said at the start, we are saying, can the institution, when you are looking at the institution of whether you have leaders, whether you are holding meetings, that's one side of the institution. It can be there.
Yes.
But are you doing business? If you are saying we are in Teso and growing cotton, is cotton still tenable? So we engage with these people to ensure whether it requires diversification of their businesses. At a certain point, you may need to even drop the enterprise that brought you together at the start. For example, my uncles in Ebonyoro, tobacco is not really something to do a cooperative for now, because the acreage has reduced, and even the emphasis on tobacco may not be forthcoming. So a cooperative that was formed in Ebonyoro for tobacco may not be a tenable thing to do. So we get that engagement, and then people to begin calculating and seeing, are we putting money where it is going to make money or not? So those are the kind of the things we want to nurture the individual enterprises. Then when they congregate, they also form cooperatives and be able to sustain. In fact, here I want to emphasize a few things. One, when you form and you are legal, then you must be able to be sustainable. If you are sustainable, you grow. That's when you will have employment creation for both the youth and the other people. And there, Mr. Kirabo, without forgetting, you see, we have usually been telling the young people, get into agriculture. Most cooperatives have been around agriculture.
Yes.
But you find a young man is not having the product that this cooperative is dealing in. But he can be able to act along the value chain. They are the ones who can transport, they are the ones who can do value addition, and they are the ones who will do the marketing. And so, when we put that into focus, then these young people can also participate along the value chain. And so, as a ministry, we are saying, can we improve uptake of business development services? Because some people had tried to reduce business development services to financial literacy, and at times some people are only motivational speakers.
Yes.
But we're saying, can we go into the details? What is the nitty-gritty of this business? What enables you to exist? Then what will enable you to survive? And that's why we want to do that, to reduce on the mortality rates. Because if the enterprises fail, the cooperatives will also fail. And with the due respect, you will realize, if you have followed the kind of cooperatives that have come in place, the moment the enterprise fail, the cooperative will also go under.
Definitely.
Yes. I know in cooperative development, we say that cooperatives will never die, because the individual who formed the cooperative will still be existing. But in the real sense, the business itself may end up going what? Going under, and therefore to revive it. In fact, as of today, I know yesterday I was telling him I'm uncomfortable with the word rejuvenating cooperatives. We need to develop the enterprises that the cooperatives are dealing in at individual level, such that they recognize, if you have milk in Chakabunga, maybe 2,000 liters every morning, that 2,000 liters you collect at the cooperative is not for you as an individual. If an individual farmer gets problems with the milk production, they are not bringing quality milk, then you will not have the good milk at the cooperative. But when we emphasize on the individual enterprise, then the enterprise will say, yes, can we come together for this purpose? Now, for those who have grown bigger, at times for them they think they can go as individuals. So those ones we send them to the Registration Services Bureau. But the smaller persons who are still in this turnover of 360 million below, let's come together, form a cooperative, and we become sustainable. And by the way, being a cooperative does not mean you will remain a small person or micro. You can still grow to bigger billions of money, but when you are still a cooperative. Yeah, the examples he's giving you, those people have grown and they still remain with their name. And the institution still remains. So can we also look at the business side of it to enable them to grow? But before I pause, I feel like you want to pose another question.
Yes.
I don't forget the issue of technologies. The issue of ensuring that these people take up appropriate technologies is an issue. You find that people don't have appropriate technologies, it disturbs in the way they produce, even the outturn becomes a problem. And so we need to help these people be able to adopt good technologies. If you are making a certain product and you use an equipment that is not helping you to get good quality, then your market will die. So those are some of the things we want to see, how we can work with them, with the enterprises, so that the enterprises can also see how to access the market, to help in aggregating for quantity and help in quality maintenance. And you can only do when all of you at the same area are working together.
Now here I want to bring in Ivan. Of course, Commissioner from the ministry, we have a lot of good policies, I must say. Now let me bring in the cooperator himself. We've heard him talk of what we are doing, what we want to do. But of course we know it will just be a drop in the ocean. But Ivan, so far, not that Johnson is with us on set, but so far when we look at the cooperative movement, how has the ministry been of value in nurturing these micro, medium and smaller SMEs to ensure that really they have that development? Because when I move around, I see a number of cooperatives, mostly in the agriculture sector. But some of the issues he has mentioned are what they are meeting on a daily, and some even end up failing to make it. So, your observation so far. Don't switch talk reality, please.
Thank you so much. This is reality, of course. The ministry has really done a lot in terms of nurturing and supporting these cooperatives. Talk about registration. You know, the law requires that for you to be a registered cooperative society, you must register with the registrar of cooperatives, who sits in the Ministry of Trade, Industry and Cooperatives. So talk about registration. Now it is not only registration, but they begin with the nurturing, because they don't just register. That's why if you are to register society, you need to have, there is what you need. Recommendation of the district commercial officer, who is under the Ministry of Trade. You need to have records, you need to have a statement of affairs, you need to have a training report. All that is nurturing to make sure by the time they register you, you are at a certain level. Now, after they have even registered you, they move on to supervise to ensure that everything is in place. There is a high level of compliance in terms of, do you follow your bylaws? Do you follow the law? Do you have the governance structures and systems? Do you have ABCD? All that. So that is what they do. Then there is audit and supervision. They also do it. You have talked about those challenges, but the ministry makes sure that the challenges are addressed. And of course, you cannot rule out the issue of financial constraints.
Yes.
Because cooperatives are so many. Currently, we have over 46,000 registered cooperatives, serving over 18 million people. So a single ministry, yes, can do the work, but we cannot entirely say that they will be perfect, because they need a lot of structures. The other day I was here when we were discussing the issue of commercial officers. We went across the country and we had an interface with the district commercial officers, the district, municipality and cities. The challenges that we see on the ground is, one, the issue of capacitation. They are not properly capacitated. The issue of facilitation, and yet they fall within the ministry. And this is why we call upon, yes, the ministry has done its work. However, they need a lot of facilitation. because they are covered, their constituency is very huge. It is huge. In fact, the Ministry of Trade should be having the biggest budget if they are to do their work, because look at trade, industry, and cooperatives. Cooperatives themselves are so many. So this is why we really not need to call upon government. Yes, the ministry is doing work, but they need a lot of facilitation. They need a bigger budget to make sure that we implement from the top up to the district level, in fact even up to parish level. Because you see now in Chirabo, they have formed parish PDM circles. Now those PDM circles are at parish level. So who is going to nurture them? Who is going to supervise them? Who is going to audit them? Who is going to do all that work? It is a ministry, because it has the legal mandate to do that.
Yes.
Now, how do you do it? You need a budget. So that is ideally what we are looking at. But Mr. Chirabo, to add on Johnson's submission, I want to tell you that globally, all cooperatives started as SMEs. Or, if you are to read their history, just go to Kenya here. Look at, let's say, for insurance. It started as an association in 1968. But now, it is the largest in the entire Africa. You come to Uganda here, the cooperative bank, it was established in 1964 as a savings and credit scheme, not a bank. Very small. By the time it closed, it was a fully-fledged commercial bank with over 20 branches. So, name them, there are so many. Ankole Coffee, for example, which is, it's now a very big union, very vibrant, exporting over 200 containers of coffee every year. Do you know how they started? If you can look at their history, then you know the role of nurturing these SMEs.
But has it been government, Ivan, that has done the nurturing? Yes, we have the commissioner here now, because what you're talking about, one would say, yes, government has provided the legal structure. You know, that now someone knows, sorry, the cooperative knows that they are formal, they are existing. But has it been government input or the fact that this is what you need to do and it's available? No. I'll give you, for example, Chibinge. When I look at these, much as I have the commissioner here, so when I look at these cooperatives, I see it's a struggle that they have done to fulfill requirements. No wonder sometimes I hear something, but I have to travel for certification at, you know, the ministry, I have to do this. So this is why I want it to be.
You know, moderator, it's a combination of everybody. You can't entirely say it is only government. Government has done its part. From registration plus other activities.
Those are mandatory.
Because it's a lot.
Commissioner now, here knows.
You come to UCA. UCA has its mandate.
Yes.
Capacity building, global advocacy, arbitration, and others.
So we have partners. For Uganda Cooperative Alliance, there I'm not complaining. It is evident.
Yes.
The nurturing, I see day in, day out, day in, day out. His team struggling, dreaming, planning for cooperatives.
Possibly, moderator.
When I go to Johnson, what I hear is I have to travel because I have to fulfill a requirement.
You see,
not government hand assisting me to do this.
You see, moderator, you are fortunately you are talking to a practitioner.
Yes.
I have been in the cooperatives now for 21 years. Having started as a cashier of a circle. If I can tell you the story on how the ministry supported me,
I'll be very glad.
You get me? Up to date. Then you'll know that. You know, when you are not there, you may not see what the government is doing. I'm not a spokesperson.
Yes.
But I give you the practical experience on how I have moved up to this level, working with the Office of the Registrar of Cooperatives in ensuring that Ivan Nasimwe becomes a real practitioner. From cashiering, those seminars, those trainings, all that, how do they support the managers, these cashiers and others? It's not about the institution, but even the human resource. How do they support the human resource? Imagine myself from cashiering, accountant, loans officer, assistant manager, manager, general manager. all that. Then they have the structures of commercial officers at the district level.
Yes, now
these are people
yes.
who help you even up to the circle. I remember when I'd just been recruited as a circle general manager in 2007, 1st of July. It is the office of the cooperative officer that I really worked with, mobilizing these people within the district. If you don't have a commercial officer, you can't mobilize. They have to support you. Then you have to have different programs. You have to have authorization. Who are you? The commercial officer has to be there for you. So all that, we have moved a very long journey up to this time. So possibly, if you are not there, you may not really see what the government is
Johnson
doing.
is burning.
Yeah, let me, I want to give you, I told you for today, the legalities you seem to understand that the legal environment is there and it's mandatory we should do.
Therefore, we have an option.
Now, this side of the development of
Yes,
these
that is where I'm
cooperatives,
interested.
I can first give you a few examples. One, when you see some of those cooperatives existing down there, they have not just thought about themselves. For example, you have heard of the housing sector in this country?
Yes.
2008-9, we sat down and said, but there is a housing situation challenge in this town. What do we do? Said, can we go out and mobilize these people to begin thinking towards housing cooperatives as a method of provision of housing? And today we are talking about a housing union that is in place. And if I can tell you, if one time you have a chance, I don't know whether you have visited the Kwefwako in Bujuko here, between Nansan and the other Mitiana
That
Road.
is of ladies who are working in the market.
The ladies, who we picked, I remember, that time I used to be on the desk of
Yeah, the
cooperatives.
market vendors.
They used to be in Kisenyi here, and they would chase them every day. We sat with them and said, but the alternative would be, instead of fighting with the KCC every day, can we find a way of organizing you? You work together to get into housing. Now, that's in terms of idea generation and formalizing ideas to ensure that they come up. Now, you see the issue of energy. In fact, before Yaka came, cooperatives had started that method of delivering power.
Oh.
Yes, and the ministry would work with them to ensure that they again connect them to stakeholders and partners to work with them. The issue of linkage is also there in terms of business development. So we worked with the people who had the need, because for example in Padiera and Abim, at the time there was no meme there, there was no UDCL. I know right now the policy has changed, but they had really done some work before these changes that came in. So that the minister would come in, but even then going to the ground. I remember a few years ago when Pakamex, that's Padiera Abim Energy Cooperative, you know electricity has issues, the components you have. Now the issue was about monitoring the equipment they are having and the tools. Now we worked with them, because I know we also do diagnosis in that process. In the first 2 hours we did diagnosis and said, no, you people, you're going to continue doing losses. Now we sat with them and said, now the control, your biggest asset is this side. So we worked with them to make sure that their production flow is proper. So that's why we're saying we are coming in two different ways. Now, the other thing is about formalization for access to government processes.
Yes.
Yeah. Maybe if I go to government, the people in Kayunga, when there were these supermarkets, when we said we passed a discussion about increasing shelf space in the supermarkets for the local products, we went to and mobilize the cooperatives in Kayunga. I said, now there is a market. The supermarkets are supposed to, they want tomatoes, they want pineapples. How do you access them? And then for them, they could not, because they would not know that those supermarkets want those products. So we had to mobilize them, and they started doing the supply. So that's why we are saying, we are not saying that we only do the legal bit of it and leave the other bits. So that's why we need to continue working with them. And I know, while I talk from the side of the non-financial, the ministry has also supplied some equipment where they find that this cooperative is doing well. These young men are doing cheese in Mbarara City using rudimentary methods. Say, okay, can we, when there are resources, can we be able to supply, to help them with an equipment that will improve their production system, and then they are able to provide a product that is of good quality to the market. So So we are having a number of things.
So
of those engagements.
additionally, if I'm to make a rejoinder, what the ministry is doing, especially in areas of standardization. Because you see, if you are to, let's say, go to supermarkets or to access foreign market, you need standard products. You need to be cleared by UNBS. So UNBS has done that part to make sure that our cooperatives can get the required certification so that they can either supply in the local market or in the foreign market. Look at trade, external trade, how the ministry is linking the cooperatives to the external buyers. Because you need a license, you need a certification, and the ministry does that. So it's a lot, like you can't really finish it here, but the ministry contributes a lot towards cooperative development in the country.
Well, there is something small I wanted to add.
Please.
You have had the issues with the artisanal miners in this country.
Yes.
The ministry has worked with a number of stakeholders to develop them. Now, as they
not to eliminate them.
No, not to eliminate them, because you may not, the big miners may not get there. We are working with them now. They are beginning to
because I last heard them of the struggle we are being eliminated for the big miners.
Yes, but now they are being organized to become cooperatives. Because when they are cooperatives, you can easily interface with them and also get their views. Because when you go to artisanal miners and you want to handle them as individuals, you would get a problem. They would not easily organize them. Their issues would not be attended to properly. But now we have encouraged them to become that side. So that's why we are identifying for this country the major things that would enable this country to develop. Can the people develop the enterprise, use the cooperative model to be able to grow them and sustain these businesses? That's where we see, as a ministry, the focus we need to look at. We develop the enterprises, we guide them to develop that level of being cooperatives, such that they have a voice, they can be able to be attended to, you can help them, train them. When you are reaching out to them, you usually reach out to them. Now, the other issue you have seen, you could have seen the brands and the packaging things in this country. We have also now put focus on how to improve the branding and packaging of the products of this country, such that we don't still remain lamenting that our products are not accessing market. So the ministry is doing a number of things with the people to ensure, because the people are the ones to do.
Yes.
For us, we can't do as a government, but we guide them, we bring access, we keep thinking and exposing them to the communities to these things, such that they take them up, such that their products can get better money on the market for wealth creation and employment.
Now, so interesting what government is doing to ensure that the micro, small and medium enterprises are nurtured into development through the cooperative model. Now, this takes me back to something very important as well. Now, when you look at most of these cooperatives, one would say they start on a low pace. And some maybe start with illiterate people. Sorry to say, but these are facts. Now, when we talk about the non-financial assistance, which is very important, though most of us quickly understand the financial assistance being sent to us, and that's why you find that some of these cooperatives, most of the circles, people come to form them because they have heard that once we make a formation here, then it is simple, go to Ivan, go to Johnson and say, here we are. Give us some money, and they will need to give us some money. What happens thereafter is a hard thing. Ivan, how easy has it been for Uganda Cooperative Alliance to carry on mindset change? I've seen people you tell to register and they tell you once you register, you succumb to taxation. They have not been knowing you, you've been doing your business, you've been making money. What is taking you there? So how have you been able to improve mindset change, people to actually formalize? Formalities are not that very easy, and we don't love them that very much.
Thank you so much. You know, the mindset change that we have been working on is not this issue of saying form and we give. No, that's different. Because
but that one worked.
That's different. It may work, but for a short time.
I sit in
because you see, a cooperative is a cooperative based on principles, values, and ideology. If you want a cooperative to be strong and sustainable, then you work backwards. You just open the eyes of people to really see an opportunity or realize there is a challenge. Once for them they have seen there is a challenge, and this is how cooperative started globally. 14th of March 1761, the weavers are seated in a room like this, and they realize there is too much demand for the products, and then they say, why don't we cooperate so that we can move faster? That is a cooperative. 1913 here in Uganda, Ugandans, the farmers, having realized the challenges they were going through, they said enough is enough. We have so many problems, we cannot continue being slaves in our country. We must form a cooperative. Four farmers led the revolution, and hence they formed the China Korea in 1913. So what do I mean? The ideology. You come here, for example, you are journalists. Now, my role is not to say, you form a group and I buy you machines. That's not a cooperative. My role would be, I come here and say, you people, don't you see an opportunity in this country? Politically, there is stability. The money is there, banks are there, they can lend you. The environment is okay for you. You are land, degrees, diplomas, masters and PhDs. So you have everything around you to change your status. So what do you need? So you'll see, journalists will start thinking, it is true. So one person or two people, Chiraba and the others, a few, they will say, you know what, Ivan is right. That is the model of UCA. Ivan is right. We have been exploited for a long time. Why did we go to school, for example? Did we go to school to speak English, or we went to school to make money? How do we make money as journalists? Let's come together, own the media houses, even have a bank, because you have the capacity. Media people are not poor people. Now, you find that you have the media, you have a bank, and you are there controlling the whole economy. That is the model. So, ideally, what UCA would do, it would go to a community. For example, in 1990s, when UCA, with the support of UNDP and government, they were establishing village banks that later became SACCO, Savings and Credit Cooperatives.
Yes.
I was a young man, but I joined the SACCO then. So they would mobilize people within a sub-county. And then we had experts who were really teaching us issues to do with the economic transformation. How do you transform yourselves? And everybody was eager. So what do we do? That, do you know you have the capacity to have a bank? He said, is it possible? So eventually we joined, formed the village bank. Now it is a very big circle in Rukunjiri district. You get it? So this has been the ideology. And then you see in its capacity building, we have been using the integrated cooperative business model. I want the viewers to listen to this. The integrated cooperative business model does not create a standalone cooperative. Like, for example, you can't go to a community and say you form a circle, savings and credit. First of all, if they are to save, what is the source of income? If they are to access credit, you are going to use it for what? So you create an integrated model whereby, if, for example, I am a cattle keeper, then I have a financing arm, the other side. If I'm still fattening my cows and my child needs to go to school, I don't need to sell the cow. Instead, I go to the circle, I get money, security and the guarantor is my cow. Because at the end of the day, I will take it to the cooperative and the cooperative will market it and then they pay through the circle. If I need inputs, maybe I need acaricides. If I need outputs, everything is gotten through that structure. And if you want to understand it very well, our viewers, you can go to, let's say, Abesiga na Kashari in Mbarara, in Biharwe. You will find a dairy cooperative and a circle together. If you went to Shema, you will find, let's say, Shema Dairy. They are like that. And others, there are so many. Even you go to Bugisu, Bugisu Cooperative Union, it has a circle inside. whereby the coffee farmers now it is out of season. But if it is out of season, does it mean that the farmers will not access financing? No. The SACCO will give you financing, because at the end of the day, when you harvest coffee, then automatically you will get money back and you pay back your advance. That is the model that is going to liberate this country. Liberate them how? People have the money, people have the income, and even the people have where to put this money. Short of that, you tell people to save, they don't have money to save. You get me? When they access loans, they don't have any enterprise. Then they just, that's where you hear someone who even has gotten a loan and he has married the third, the fourth, the fifth wife, because I don't have any enterprise. So that is the model of capacity building that we are looking at. And beyond the capacity building, we don't only stop there, but we even go into nurturing and backstopping. If a circle has been formed, then how do you strengthen the governance of that circle? Train the leaders, train the management staff. And then for us, I remember in 1990s, UCA, beyond forming the circle, they would even, they had the, what they called the startup kit. The startup kit, they would say, we are renting for you a room, we are giving you a safe, we give you materials, scholastic materials, we pay your 2 staff, that is a manager and a security guard, only. Then for 2 years, the circle has grown. That is what happened in Chamuhunga, in Ruchiga, in Ryamjungu, in Moyo, in Agaro, all that. So that is what we are looking at. And then beyond that, we also need policies. They need policies to operate. The human resource policy, the governance policy, the credit policy, the savings policy, the borrowing policy, all of those policies, the business plans, the strategic plans. So it is a bigger package. When you hear capacity building, don't think it is just calling people and you train them. It's a very big package. That is why you find that these cooperatives are very strong. And like Johnson mentioned, once a cooperative is formed based on the cooperative ideology, even if there is a challenge, the cooperative will not die. It will just go to bed. When it is awakened, it thrives. And that is what you see in this country.
Mr. Kilabo, can I have just a minute or two?
Please, yes.
I want to use this analog. From his discussion, you realize if you gave somebody cooking oil, will that person produce for you sauce?
No.
Now, that's where we are having a challenge. While we are nurturing people, we tell them this is the direction. They end up picking the cooking oil without looking for the meat. Therefore, they don't have sauce to put on the table. And that's the money bit of it. The money bit of it is only coming in to oil the process. Because every bit you are going to do, the production, the marketing will require money. Now people emphasize it. I can give you an example, 2 examples. You talked about the journalists. I don't know whether we interacted with you around that time. But there before even the Myoga process, I remember engaging the journalists around town with the challenges, you know the challenges that exist. You have written your story, this one is being given, well, this amount, what, all those challenges without going into them. I sat with the journalists. I don't know whether you were one of them at the time. But I remember one gentleman, I think who was a chairperson, who was called Joshua Chalimpa, I think. We engaged with him, he mobilized them. Do you know what happened at the end of the day? The other members believed that it's better for them to come together as a circle, not as a journalists cooperative. Because the other journalists cooperative, which is not a circle, would have handled more issues than the money bit of it.
Yes.
Now, if I can
but
get
the circle had the money.
But it doesn't have the money. You must mobilize the money from yourselves, and then you grow it. But because somebody knows when you go to microfinance support center, you will borrow. Then he says, we had rather borrow, form a what? A circle. Now, I can go back towards the other projects that have happened, the programs of this government. When you are having people we are tailors, and we have formed tailors, a Myoga circle. What do we need as tailors who are, say, in Kotido, who are in Kitugum? Do we need the money, or we need to work together to improve the quality of the products we are making, and come together to make sure that if we are getting market of, say, making uniforms of a primary school, we can easily produce those uniforms on time, supply, and we are paid good money. We can even mobilize money within ourselves to be able to get the materials. But what is happening? We are tailors, we end up forming a circle, then you are getting small work. 1,000, 2,000 shillings, you have little to save into the cooperative. Because you are not together to develop the enterprise. If you are on tailoring, you would have formed that. If you are border, you would have done what? Formed that enterprise. So that's why we encourage the people out there. Can we come around the enterprise, develop the enterprise? Then the financing bit of it will be the oil of the whole process.
Well, I just want to thank you so much, the two gentlemen that I've been with. Unfortunately, I must come to the end of this segment. And I just want to give each of my guests a minute for your parting shot. And I'll start with Ivan.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, UBC, the board and management, for this opportunity. I want to call upon all Ugandans, especially those who have businesses. First of all, don't undermine yourself. Don't say that this is, they usually say a business. You say this is my business. If it is a circle, even call it this is my bank, because you know where you are heading. Now the moment you are there, plan, how do I grow my business? That is why we are here today. You can start small, tomorrow you are the largest organization in the whole country, or even globally. So having this small and medium enterprise, let us see how best we can nurture and grow them, so that eventually we have a very strong cooperative movement. Either you can form a big cooperative union, or you can join. It is either of the two, either form or join, but ultimately we are looking at something bigger than what we see today. Thank you.
And lastly, Commissioner.
Thank you, Bwana Chirabo, and the viewers who have been listening to us. My parting shots are in the form, can we balance between the institutions we form and the business operations? And that one would mean we look at those items that grow your business other than the institution itself. And try to get it from the right offices, the local, the commercial officers are there, our ministry is there to guide where we can be able to access these non-financial business development services.
Well, thank you so much, gentlemen, and of course our viewer. Thank you very much. Now, we will go for a break, and when I return in the next hour, we'll be discussing a bit of politics. We've been discussing business and how SMEs can be nurtured into bigger cooperatives. See you in the next hour. Keep it with us on UBC TV.
Live from UBC Studios in Kampala, this is Good Morning Uganda. In a nation hungry for truth, a world where every story matters, there exists a beacon of trust and reliability. For decades, they've been our voice and our window to the world, holding the mirror of our history. With 4 TV stations and 11 radio channels spanning 27 languages, they stand as